Okay, so I've started the recording. I guess it'll start in a second. And we have good amount of people. So yeah. So welcome all. This is our 50th BC Open discussion. I can't believe it's already been 50th.
Golden
Uh,
Jubilee.
yeah. I don't like to celebrate things, but then somebody kind of talked me through around it, that at least put some slides, some stats of what all we have covered for all these sessions in past, and then continue whatever you're doing. So we'll just go through that, and then we'll start talking about the questions that we have today majorly. So here is the link. If you are not a default attendee, this is the link where you find the registration link for every week. If you are in the meeting and don't want to get into hassle of registering every week, then drop your name and email address in chat, and I'll make you default attendee going forward. Otherwise, this is the link that gets updated just after this meeting. Okay, so let's talk about highlights of BC Open discussion, what we have done, how it all started. It all started because of COVID. I had my 3 or 4 physical sessions planned before the first wave of COVID, which all got cancelled, the ticket got cancelled and everything. And I started talking about BC Open discussion on 27/6/2020, which was the first time I did it. There was no plan to go so long about it, I guess. The plan was still COVID, and COVID is still there. It was only attended by 2 people, and I see Priyaranjan sometime in our meeting still today, but I don't know where Deepak is. But these were the only 2 people who joined on 27/6/2020. Till now, we as a group have tried answering 124 questions till now, and the max attendee that we have seen is 70 in May 2021, as in the whole month. These are the people who asked maximum questions till now, the top 5 people. Shahid, I don't know if he's here today or not, but he have been on top of that list. And these were the maximum attendee sessions that we have done. And all these sessions are available on YouTube. And when we are talking about YouTube, these are the top watch sessions on YouTube. Automated testing, to my surprise, is on the top of the list. And I might do something else again on automated testing because there are a good amount of questions around it. But if there is any topic in this that we want to revisit or go deep into it, let me know, maybe in chat, or we'll open it for discussions about it. And these are some statistics based on our Microsoft form that we use to register and to submit questions. So maximum question seems from Business Central. These are the names of people who have asked it, and these are the versions that they tagged into it. And this is just a sum of how we are here on the 50th one, based on how many people registered and attended. I don't know what happened in February, but maybe February was the smallest month. That's why very few people attended, or maybe I was out also on that month. But yeah, it was pretty consistent, somewhere around 40 people approx every month. What I have learned, as in I also learned something out of these sessions, and these are my top of things that we have talked about in these BC Open discussion, starting from debugging to interfaces to schema synchronization, attachment, notes, text to AL conversion. That was a question sometime. File management, retention policies, and all. And last week we were discussing what should we discuss next. So let's see once we come up with that. So that's all about what I was able to collect from the past BC Open discussion that we have done. As we were talking about DynamicsCon last week, the voting have been started. It started actually last Monday, and it closes on Wednesday, July 28th. There are 75 great sessions for Business Central that are available there and open to vote. Everyone who is a registered member in DynamicsCon, and if you are not, you can still do it. You get 12 votes to vote on different topics that are available there. And then based on the votings, the final kind of session playlist will be decided based by the community. There are 21 new speakers, which is a great thing. I like adding, finding more people adding into in the mix of sharing that knowledge. So there are 21 new people. I'll use all my votes if I can on all these rookie speakers, but please vote for them at least. And then minimum of 20% of rookie speakers will at least get their slots confirmed in DynamicsCon September. This time DynamicsCon is not 8 hours, 2 days, it's 4 hours for 4 days. So it gives you time to work as well as attend the DynamicsCon sessions, because for India, it happens in the evening, majority of all the sessions. So go there on DynamicsCon website, identify titles that you like, start voting for them, and then we'll see what all gets selected at the end of the voting process. Okay, so let's jump into questions. So the first question came from Gmail, and as I try to kind of keep it anonymous, if it is not on the Microsoft form. And the question is, can you update me regarding the IN upgrade to BC version? If any toolkit, please let me know. And others can chime in, but as far as I know, the migration path is still not available for Business Central for India localization. Is that correct, Sandeep? I guess
Yes, it's correct. Toolkit is not expected to come earlier than 1st of October.
Okay. So yeah, once that becomes available, we'll see what issues we see over there, because this is one different one, because this is coming from 2016 to VC 18 at this point, which is a long jump. And the customizations are different from company to company. In one company, and I want to show or hide something on customer card or some new pages that should be visible in one company, but not on other company. Some idea around it. Okay. So Tabriz, I thought about it. And the first thing that came to my mind, and if you haven't noticed it in Business Central, is there is already a pattern around this line, which is called as management. But feature management is tenant wide. So until unless a feature is enabled on a tenant, the users are not able to access those pages or not able to see those fields if the feature is not enabled for that particular tenant. So let me give you an example. If I disable my enhanced email feature on my sandbox, and if I sign out and sign back in, I'll not be able to see any fields related to this particular feature in my Business Central tenant. And if I try to access a new page, which is part of this feature, the system gives me an error that it is not enabled. So like if I do a list in Outbox, this one seems working. That's weird. Let me see what happened. Enhanced email. Okay. 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 Welcome to update email capabilities. Okay, I might have done some setup already. Otherwise, it gives me an error message, like if you try with the sales pricing and purchase pricing, disabled. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, the page is used by a feature that is not enabled. For more information, see feature management. So on the similar line, the bridge, you can actually do something, and I have a small demo for you, if that makes sense. Let me share my screen here. Okay, and let me zoom this in. What I've done is I've created a base extension where there is one table called extension setup. This table is kind of a replica of feature management with one additional field, company name. Because as I said, the feature management is based on tenant and you wanted it specific to company. And then there is a Boolean enable, and this is data per company false. Now, this table has two methods to check is that feature enable or not, and also to add a new feature into it. So let's publish this one, and then you can surely extend or add features into it, like whenever a company is deleted, then records for that company gets deleted and things like that. But right now this got published. And if I try to do, it looks something like this, which is empty at this point. Now the idea is once you have this as the base app or the kind of the parent app of all the apps that you're building, then eventually you can build your extension 1 and extension 2. In extension 1, I have the dependency set to the main extension, which is the base extension based on this dependency. And I have added a field into customer table, which is extension 1 code. And that's also available on the page. But on the page, it have a visual condition of if enabled, which is a global variable here, which gets set based on that function in the main app is enabled, and it returns it a Boolean or not. And in the same way, on extension 2, there is also a page extension on customer card, which is adding an extension 2 code, which is also visible like if enabled. And then it is passing or getting the Boolean based on the parent extension that it's had. Now to make sure that that table gets loaded, which is the extension setup table, both these extensions have an install code unit. Extension 1 install code unit adds a record for extension 1 for each company that's available in the database at that point. And in the same way, extension 2 install code units adds a record for extension 2 in all the companies that are available in the database. So let's just quickly publish these, and then we'll see that. So this one got published. Let's minimize this. And now let's move to extension 2. Let's so both of these apps are now available on my box. So once I'm here, the way we use feature management, we will also try to use this on the similar lines. We'll use it based on the company, and because it's just about the visibility and those fields. At this point, let's open customer card before we enable any of those features. And there is no field at this point because I have added it into the journal tab. So now let's go back for extension setup. So these are the two companies that I have, and I'm right now on Cronus USA. So let's say I enable extension 1 and extension 2 on Cronus USA and only extension 1 on my company. So at this point on Cronus USA, I should see both the fields on journal tab, whereas on my company, I should only see one field on my journal tab. So if I open my customer card, I can see both the fields, extension 1 code and 2 code. If I switch to my company from settings, the company, and if I try to open the customer card, I should only see one field based on my extension setup. So this is the way I think you will be able to achieve this. I don't understand the actual need that you have to have multiple customization based on different companies, but it was just a small sample of it. The other things that you need to take care while you're building this is you need to make sure that you have a on the base app, you have an event subscriber. Anytime a company gets deleted or added, you'll have to add records of that company into this table. So that's something else that you'll have to do. But the other thing that I'll say at this point on this one is it might slow down some processes because this need to be calculated on all the fields that you're trying to conditionally hide based on a Boolean on a setup. So think about that part because it will surely slow down processes if you have around visibility. It'll take that time to identify that visibility condition. So if it's actually necessary, then surely do it. Otherwise, I'll personally defer from doing anything like this. But any other thoughts on that for Tabriz? Anyone else have any thoughts on this? Okay. So let's move to next question, which is from Dashrath. And Dashrath is here. Yes, Dashrath is here. So Dashrath, your question about send to button restrict on report request page.
Yes, yes.
So I think you might have to revisit what you are doing or the article that you have written. And here's the reasoning about it. I did spend some time on it today.
Okay.
So the logic that you have written is something like this, right?
Yes, yes.
And I've just changed the report number to 1306 just to make sure that I can verify what you're trying to do.
Yes.
Now, the event on merge document report only gets called when you run a report which have a word layout, which have only word layout majority of the cases. So let's see here. This system where I am right now. Let me switch to Coders USA. My report selection sales invoice or report selection sales have 1306 on the sales invoice. And if I try to go to my post sales invoices and try to print this, send to PDF, it'll be an error based on your subscriber, right?
Yes. Right.
Now, let's go back to the code and I'll change it to the standard report for invoice, which is most commonly used in North America, is 10074, which is also a standard report. And this only have the RDLC layout. There is no word layout or there's no default word layout for this. So the default layout is RDLC.
Yes.
So if I go ahead and change my report selection sales, oh, sorry. To be 10074, which is also an invoice report. And I have also changed the code. Now, if I try to go to my posted sales invoice and try to print this with my send to printer to PDF, this will still save as PDF.
Yes.
And the reasoning is that your merge document event that you're trying to consume or subscribe will not be fired if the report only have RDLC layout.
Okay.
It only get called when you have a report where there is a word layout as a primary layout.
Yes.
So the 1304, 5, 6, and 7, these are used for email word layout because they have designed these fancy email layouts to it, which is custom report layout. If you see here, this is your 1306. So 1306 have all these word layouts, which are, and one of them is set as default in the report design. Like when you define what type of layout it supports, one of them is defined as the default one. Because just to make sure that I'm not talking about something wrong, what I did is I also added a fake layout here just to see does it triggers that. But it does not, because it depends on what is defined on the design of that report. Does that make sense? Or I can actually show that. Let me see if I can. Cache. Okay, let's go here. Actor. Yes. Okay. So if I try to search for sales, okay. Let me just do report. Just want to tell you how that works. So if any of these report, which is this, let's say, the RDLC layout in this case is default, right?
Yes,
Because the default
right.
layout is set to RDLC. But if you look at 1306 and any report on that 13 range, the default layout option is Word.
Okay.
And then there is a Word layout. There is also an RDLC layout, but the default is set to be Word. And that's where the merge event is triggered in the system code unit to make sure that it merges the layout before it prints it.
Okay, so then no possibility for default layout RDs.
No, I looked into those triggers. There are no such triggers other than the one that you were using, which gives you option to choose which that you can compress it or not.
Yes, yes.
If it is a SaaS problem, I would say send a request to Microsoft. Maybe they can set those properties on your tenant, customer tenant, because it's a setting on the service tier, and even in SaaS, the settings are defined at the tenant level. But then this will block it for every report, not just for custom reports.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, that was I was able to find out of that.
Okay. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, not a problem. Any other thing, anyone, before we start talking about something else?
So this send to button restriction is required only for PDF.
No, PDF, Excel, and Word.
Excel and Word you can control at least on premise version. It can be
Yeah,
controlled
on-premise
through
you can control all.
in PDF
There are
cannot
We
be
both.
want
controlled,
on
right?
SaaS.
Go ahead, Dasharat, you're saying something?
We used we restrict button all format, not only PDF.
But you're trying to do it on SaaS. Is that
Yes,
correct?
yes, yes, yes,
Okay. And Sandeep sir, you're saying something?
Yeah, I was just saying PDF cannot be restricted on premise, right?
yes,
Only Excel and Word can be restricted.
Yes, on
yes, yes.
Excel and Word, right?
Fine.
Okay, thank you, Sunil.
Okay. So if there is nothing else, I guess this was there cannot be a week like this to talk about this, but Microsoft have just released what's planned for 2020 Wave 2, 2021 Wave 2, which is our September release. I know it seems overdone right now, but that's what the pace of Microsoft is, and we'll also have to keep pace with them. So here are the application enhancement that are coming on 2020 Wave 2. And let's talk about quickly about them. The first one is add additional columns through personalization in various pages to gain more insight. Now, what Microsoft is doing on this is like in the personalized mode, you can only add those fields which are available in the design of the page. For adding extra field, either you request your partner to get those field added, and then what we guys do is we add them using page extensions, or you get into design mode, which eventually creates an extension. In this change that Microsoft is bringing, they have modified receipt line pages, shipment pages, bank account pages, chart of accounts, and, journal pages, sales purchase pages, item and purchase documents, majorly that I remember. Now that sounds pretty good, but if your customer is already is live on Business Central, then you might have to rework on their extension, because you'll have to remove those fields sorry, from your page extensions, because now they are part of the base Microsoft page. So keep an eye if your customers are on SaaS. The first change that Microsoft is bringing may cause some extension breakage when the next upgrade happens in September, because those fields may now be part of the uh, base app. And if they are available on the base app, then they cannot be in your extension. Does that make sense? Let me walk you through around that. Otherwise, if I try to add on this, not this, if I try to add customer name, which is already added in the page from Microsoft, to do a name, the system will warn me that the field is already exists by the base application. In the same way, if you have added some field for your based on your customer requirement via page extensions, and they get added based on this change that is coming up in next release, then keep an eye, at least for SaaS customers, your extension may break because of this change. Because the common fields that are coming back are, if I'm remembering it right, the name to the description to are coming back on most of the pages. And that might have been added by you in your customer extension. So keep an eye on that. The second, add non-inventory items on requisition and planning worksheet. So this was one of the feature requested on the ideas portal, that there should be capabilities to add non-inventory item on requisition and planning worksheet. So now they don't get pulled automatically, but if you add them manually in your requisition or planning worksheet, and then you create purchase order out of it, they will move to purchase order as the normal item does, the inventoryable item does. So that's one feature that is coming in the next release. In bank and payment reconciliation, yes. So yeah, now payment reconciliation will have a separate number series for it. We are also bringing the preview posting functionality in the payment reconciliation, and also an ability to reverse the GL register based on whatever posted from the payment reconciliation. On the bank reconciliation, they have done pretty minor enhancement around filtering the bank ledger entries based on the statement number, and also enhance the auto matching functionality of bank reconciliation. So if you are using those functions, you might see some enhancement on those areas. Then the next is coupled records between Business Central and Dataverse in bulk. Now, if you are using Dataverse or integration with Dynamics 365 sales, I guess that's what it is. If you are using those kind of integration, till now what was happening is everything that was available in the Dataverse, because Dataverse can get data from multiple sources, was getting back synchronized to Business Central, which was not correct. So the partners were writing custom code to make sure that nothing comes back to Business Central in the synchronization. With next release, Microsoft will have provision to decide what kind of synchronization you want at the field level. So you can define in the integration field that I only want to send this data out. I don't want to receive anything on this field. So that gives you more power when you integrate with the Dataverse or D365 sales. The next one about delegated admin can create job queue entries and request approval by a licensed user. This was a recent change where partners, which are majorly delegated admins, are not supposed to create job queue entries on customer tenant, at least in SaaS. Now, with this release, partners will be able to create it, but they'll not be able to run those job queues. The execution will still be dependent on the customer license user, but partners will be able to create and set up job queues on SaaS for their customers. The next one is super cool because if you have customers on SaaS and they go crazy on App Source and App Store and install all free apps which are available on there, it's a way to list as a partner what your trusted apps are for that customer. So now as a partner, you can decide that these are predefined apps that we think will help your business, rather than customer going crazy on app source and installing everything that they see there. As a partner, you get some control to install some of the apps which are relevant to their business, either free or paid. The next one is location for non-inventory items. So yes, now we can specify locations for non-inventory items like we used to do for inventory items, and they will also be available in ledgers when you post the transactions around that. Item ledger entries, value entries, and job ledger entries and all. So that's get added in next release. More educational app tools for standard roles. So we have talked about it, I guess, the teaching tip feature in Business Central that was released last time. Microsoft is expanding the built-in tools which are available in the product and will cover more pages to help new users during their onboarding to Business Central. New automation API to create user groups. And I don't know how many of you are using automation APIs, but that's a separate sections of APIs which are used to control or to manage admin task on your customer business Central tenant. And there was already one for permission, one for, I guess, personalization. No, not personalization, roles or something. And now they have also added one to allow partners to do user groups from APIs. And when you have customer in bulk, then it's hard to go into their environment and do it. So with this automation API, you can now will be able to create user groups using PowerShell by consuming this API. Production BOM and routes on SKU in planning scenarios. So yes, that seems a pretty nice change to me at this point. Stock keeping units will now have two new fields, which is the production BOM and production routes. When a new SKU will be created, the values from the item will be copied to SKU. And if you read more about this particular change, they are suggesting that if you have multiple SKU and there is only one default SKU, then you can actually empty those production BOM and route fields, which get copied from item. And for those SKUs, the defaults will be taken from item. So that's get added into the next release. The first obsolete that you would have heard, maybe the second one in Business Central world, is Microsoft is removing these 4 reports, 204, 5, 6, and 7. If you're using them, then either shift to the newer reports, which are 1304, 5, 6, and 7, or create a copies of these report into 50,000 number. If you want to use this layout, they will be removed from the base product in next release. Check your report selection. These were sales quote, sales order, sales invoice, and sales credit memo report in the legacy. These were there from pretty old versions of nav, but they are getting removed in this version. The next one is a big one, and I actually want to show you the article around it, which is about this unit of measure rounding. And I am not so much experienced on it, but maybe you guys can give me some ideas around what's going to change. So rounding of base unit of measure. The feature detail specify a rounding precision for base unit of measure to guide users on what to enter for a given business process and reduce rounding issues when using alternate unit of measure. Here's an example. When an item serves different purposes, you can set up alternate unit of measure. The base unit of measure of the item defines how you store it, and the alternate is how you handle it in sales, purchase, production. When you use alternate unit of measure, the value in quantity per unit of measure helps to calculate the quantity in base unit of measure, which can lead to rounding issues. For example, you are receiving a box that contains 6 items from a supplier. When the item arrives at warehouse, you discover one of the 6 items is missing. That means the box contains only 5 items. You decide not to post the receipt of one box, but to change the quantity to 5 by 6 instead. That will be converted to a receipt of 4.99998 pieces. To receive a whole number, the quantity rounding precision field lets you specify a value that will convert the quantity to 5 pieces. So this gonna change, or this gonna available in the next version of rounding based on your base unit of measure for your items. Does that sound good or bad? I don't know much about it. Others can talk about it if they know about it, anything.
This will be good, particularly where you have got pieces versus weight.
Okay, so let's see how that shapes in once this comes into the product. The next is tour of Business Central to help users know the basics. It's again around that teaching tip thing, but they are enhancing the teaching tip with expanding the teaching tip not just to fields and action, but also on the system control, the sorting button, the filtering control. So now it expands to the whole page where you can define teaching tips in different areas. Use multiple unit of measure when synchronizing item and resources to Dynamics 365 sales. So till now, there was only base unit of measure that is used to synchronize between Dynamics 365 sales and Business Central. Going forward, you'll be able to synchronize more unit of measures with items and resources while synchronizing item to 365 sales. So to me, nothing seems much. There are some to worry about if your customers are using it. One is the first one, where your extension may break, not a major issue, but you'll still have to keep this in mind that you might get into this. Remove obsolete report. If you have customers on SaaS, do check, are they using any of these report? And if yes, plan before their next upgrade. The big ones that seems coming up is to me, for my SaaS customer, list of trusted partner apps is a cool feature that's getting added up. And as Sandeep said, this seems a pretty decent one, a rounding of base unit of measure. These are the enhancement in the application of 2021 release wave 2. Let's talk about the next section, what's changing in development. I was super excited, but there's nothing much to tell you the truth for developers on this update. But now AL compiler diagnostic message include URLs. That means you can add more details into it, including a URL link, which can guide or help developer to navigate a page to a web page where he can see why this error message and how to solve it, this error message. I don't know, is it extendable for partners to kind of enhance it if if one of their scenario fails in the compiler? But at this point, it seems that there will be more help for developers when a compilation issue or a build issue fails uh, on your source control or on your local Dockers. The next one is super big one. I guess most of us were waiting for it. I get so many questions around it, which is forcing for of customer specific extension in online environment. So till now, if you don't know, in SaaS, you cannot delete a field or a table if you are building for a SaaS environment and if the app is already published. The only way that you can deal with it is you can only go to the table and then set these three properties: obsolete reason, obsolete state, and obsolete tag. Based on these three fields, the field is considered obsolete and cannot be used by any other extension developer. Or if you are using it, it starts showing you warning that this field is obsolete. So option for this, I guess, removed. An obsolete tag is normally Microsoft uses version at this point when they obsolete something. But if you come back here now and remove this, which is a fake field, we added, you get an error message here that this field is removed with the details that you have added into that field. So if you are developing for SaaS, then you cannot delete a field till now at this point. But forcing for customer specific extension in online environment makes it possible to have a destructive change while you're trying to update your extension, which clears out so much mess that we might have created for all these years on our customer tenants, maybe due to our mistake or maybe a change in requirement from customer. But this is coming up in the next release, which will allow partners to have a force sync. The documentation specifically says that if you're trying to do this, make sure that you have done it in Sandbox and other environments, but this will be available going forward. Generated documentation for AL language. This is just for Microsoft. Till now, they were using manual handcrafted documentation of all the methods, functions which are available. And now they are trying to automate it to remove the inconsistencies which are available there. So they're trying to auto-generate it. And let's see how that works. And first they will auto-generate it. And then if they see some gaps, then there will be some manual addition to that documentation, but nothing for developers more or less at this point. Profiling AL performance with a snapshot debugger. This is super cool. So we have seen snapshot debugger, how it works on SaaS, how you can actually debug a session in production, get the snapshot out of it, and then debug offline if you want. What Microsoft is doing is adding the profiler feature into that snapshot, which will allow you to investigate the performance of that code that you are debugging. In terms in VS Code, you can see the performance of different methods that are being called in that snapshot, either in a top-down or a bottom-up approach in the call stack view. So that's get added into snapshot debugger. I'm not sure about normal debugging. Will that allow us to see the performance of it? Will it include AL performance or not? But right now it's only the documentation says that it will only get added into the snapshot debugger. So let's see, once that comes, we'll surely talk about it. Richer access control for extension source in cloud environment. And I guess this is what we were talking about a while ago, because there are some partners who are doing something wrong at this point, which is for per tenant extension, they are saying show my code as false, which is a property on our app.json. which is somewhere here. Show my code, true or false. Now, what happens when you say show my code false is the people cannot download your source code. That makes sense. That's the one thing. The other thing is people cannot debug in your source code. So it limits, debugging capabilities and all in pertinent extension. And this is a specific to pertinent extension, not about ISV extensions and all. Because to set show my code false on a ISV extension makes sense because that's their own code base and they don't want to share it with partners and all. But for per tenant extension, that's a bad idea to set that property to be false. So what's going to happen is the framework is still not decided as per documentation, but the plan is to remove or deprecate this property from the extension development and find a better way to handle those scenarios where ISV will be able to extend it. But partners, when they are building pertinent extension, they should not be doing show my code false because the code belongs to customer, not to the partner. So if you are building pertinent extensions for your customer, stop using this property to be false. This is customer source code for which they are paying for it. So you can't be setting this property to be false. If you are an ISV, then that makes sense that you can set it based on your requirement and then enhance as the enhancement come, you can surely change the way Microsoft is changing it. Transactional installing and synchronizing extension on premises. Now, because they wanted to use the ForSync in SaaS, they had to change a command so that they can do it. So right now, the steps when you are installing an app on-prem is publish, sync, install. What they're trying to do is they are trying to club the synchronization and install in one step so that they can achieve it into the cloud by using the ForSync thing. So that's just a need for the ForSync that's get added. So the cool thing for me, at least at this point, is ForSync because I know how much we have done there. And the other one is profiling AL performance with a snapshot debugger. These are the two major enhancements that I'm looking at from a developer perspective. Anything else anybody likes on this? Okay, if not, let's talk about some less interesting features, what's coming up as in for a business central developer, but in general, they're important. The next group is around administration. What's changing there? The first thing is you can actually manage access to your business central tenant environment using Azure ADD. So right now what happens is when you are in SaaS environment, and let me go here because this is a SaaS sandbox. I'm pretty sure there will be that option. When you try to add new users, you can't add it the way we used to add it in on-prem. Go to users page, create a new user, and then provide details, provide a password if it's username, password and all, assign a role and all. That does not happen in the SaaS environment. In SaaS, what happens is when you go to the users page, you get this option to update users from Microsoft 365, or when you click on new one, there's no new button, but you cannot add from here. You can add it from 365 Admin Center, and anyone who you have assigned license to or Business Central in your Admin Center. When you click on this button, update user from Microsoft 365, it pulls all the user and brings it into your tenant. With this Azure ADD group, now you can create your user groups in your Active Directory, and then all those users can be pulled in Business Central, and they will be restricted to the environment that you are adding them. So Avinav, your old issue, maybe that gets solved into this one once this comes into picture. Because they will only be able to see the environment that they are granted access to. I'm still not sure about the companies, but for sure about the tenant that they are assigned to. Okay, now the other one is super important, which is copying environment from different types. Till now in SaaS, you can only copy from a production and copy it to a sandbox. Based on your license that you have purchased from Microsoft, you can have one or more production, and you can also purchase additional production. But now Microsoft supports, after this release is available, a copy of production to production, a copy of sandbox from a sandbox, and even a copy of sandbox to production, which seems pretty weird while you're listening it, but that's also available to copy a kind of a text environment to a production environment. So all three types of copying environment will be available starting next release, where you can copy from different environment to different environments, or from the similar environment to similar environment. Operational log enhancement. Let me think about it. Yes, okay. So when the logs are maintained, and this all is for SaaS, you will start seeing new logs being created when a new environment is created. Let's say you create a sandbox, when you delete a sandbox, when you copy an environment, and when some properties are changed from environment, they all will be available as log for you as partners. You can also remove old operational log, which are not relevant to you at this point, but those logs will be available starting next release to you. The last one, which is one of the most requested feature in SaaS, is capability for partners or delegated admins to restart different environment in case of situations. So, and I guess it was one of the most voted ideas. So Microsoft is going to add this capability to have delegated admins / partners have ability to restart a particular environment if needed to solve an issue and all. So that's all in administration. On modern clients, it's all about performance. Yes, on unhindered data entry across rows, our favorite shortcut F9 is coming back for posting documents. So that will be available. And rest all our performance. Additionally, on the discovering reports and administration, if you have noticed, this is not a guaranteed feature, but in here there is a small explorer menu. There are going to add 2 new buttons to discover reports and the administration pages, which are tagged as administration, to be visible at this screen rather than, and they will still be able to be search those objects. But to make it simple, they are adding 2 new buttons here to see all the reports and administration area in this role explorer window. So that's going to add. I didn't know that this was not available, but now localized decimal separator on your numeric keypad will be supported, like dots and thousand separator, commas. They were not supported till now, but they will get added in the next release. What else is there? It's all around Microsoft 365, where the Teams is getting tightly integrated. Automatic deployment of Office add-ins like Excel and Outlook add-in. It's getting through a wizard, so it makes it easier. The sub pages of your main pages, like on sales order, you can actually export out sales line into Excel. Those capabilities are being added so that you can just send sales line out or any sub page out. And then you can share things with Teams, and there is an API for file sharing in 365, which is on that connected environment. And last but not least, on Power Platform, now when you add Power BI reports in your Business Central, on Power BI, you can have different workspaces that you are part of. So those reports will be grouped based on workspaces so that it's easier for the user to find out which report they're using. What else is left? Let me see. Is there anything else? Okay. The last one, yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 new countries are being added. And I quickly checked all these countries have their localization extension built by local partners, but they will be available in next release, which is Argentina, Bulgaria, Myanmar, Puerto Rico, Czechoslovakia, I guess, and Ukraine. These will be available in 2020 release wave 2. And then here at the end, an external application who is consuming an OData can say that they only want to read the data, and that's available with the OData in next version. And Microsoft is also trying to restrict how many background sessions, which is the task scheduler sessions, you can run on a Business Central environment. So for on-premises, there will be new properties added on service tier, which is maximum number of sessions, how long they should wait, and the amount of time that it should wait to push it out from the queue. So that's the limit that's getting added in the Business Central 2021 release wave 2 for job queues, more or less. That all what I was able to find out for the next release, which is available in public at this point. So if anybody want to read more about it, I'll just share the main page link where it is, and you guys can read about it. What's new and planned. So I'll put it in chat. Just gonna grab it from there. But I'll be happy to stay if there are any questions or thoughts. Otherwise, we'll see you next week.
So, bro, I have one question.
Go ahead.
Am I audible, right?
Yes, Jignesh, tell me.
Yeah, so this is not Jignesh, this is Srinivas.
Oh, hey, Srinivas.
Yeah. Yeah, so so currently, so I have one client who is having the on-prem business central actually. So currently how we are doing is we have a solution. So we are directly copying our code to the client environment, and there we are opening the VS Code, and from there we are downloading the symbols, and then we are generating the package, and finally we are publishing through VS Code itself only. So I am thinking that, so I am keeping my confidential code into the client environment. That is not a good idea to keep the entire code there and publishing from there actually. So instead of doing like this, so without copying to the client environment, how can I publish the things from my local to the client environment in the on-prem?
So, as in having your source code at client environment is never a suggested or the best practice in any case. And there are multiple reasons around.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's where your source control comes into picture. Now, whenever you talk about source control, it also comes up with the capability to run the build process within itself. So every source control, either you use GitHub or you use Microsoft Git or Visual Studio source control, they let you write your code in your local Docker or wherever you're writing it, and then make sure that you commit it back to your source control, either at GitHub or Microsoft Git. Okay? Both of them also provides you capability to write a build process. And what a build process is, it's kind of creating a Docker container behind the scene, taking all your source code that you have committed in your source control, trying to publish it on the Docker container. If everything publishes, generate the app and give you the app out of it.
Okay.
Now, once you have the app file, then you go ahead and install it on your customer environment.
Yeah, that is fine. Yeah, in this case, if I want to download the symbols of the client on-prem system, so how can I get?
But how does that matter So let's say if your customer is on 17.5 India
Okay.
localization, it's big, random,
Okay.
right? You can have a Docker for 17.5 India localization on your local also.
Yeah.
Maybe they are using two other ISVs. You can
Mm-hmm.
have those app files on your local repo also.
Yeah.
Anything that you can publish on their environment, you can also publish it on your environment, right?
Yeah.
So the symbols will remain same. Either you download it from customer environment or from your environment. Till the point the version matches, the dependent apps matches.
Yeah.
So you should not rely on, or you should not have to download the symbol at customer environment. If you have downloaded on your local and your version matches, your localization matches, your dependency matches, then you
Mm-hmm.
just need to build the app on your environment and deploy it on customer environment.
Okay. Uh,
There's no
let
need, as in symbols will not be different from your machine to customer machine.
Okay. Uh, Let me explain one more example. Like suppose you are deployed an app in the client environment, and my app is also deploying in the client environment. Suppose I want to depend on your app in this
Right?
scenario. So then how can I get by sitting on my local Docker, and how can I get your symbols, means your package into my Docker?
And who am I? Am I ISV or also an independent developer?
You are an independent developer.
Okay, an independent developer, then I should give you my app anytime I change it.
Sorry,
Because
can you?
I should also give you my app whenever I change it.
Mm-hmm.
Now think about it from the SaaS perspective. As in, whenever you have any of these questions, think from SaaS perspective. You can't build directly on SaaS, right?
Yeah.
So anytime we are developing an extension for our SaaS customers, we'll be doing it
Mm-hmm.
on our local.
Yeah.
They will be using apps from other ISVs, right?
Yeah.
If I have a dependency with that ISV, I'll actually
Mhm.
ask for the app from that ISV and they'll provide it to me. That's as simple as that.
Yeah. So I'm thinking like instead of copying everything there, so whatever the dependence apps are there, so I can take the dependence apps symbols, means the app packages physically, and keep those packages in my packages folder. And from there, I can add a dependency of that packages, and I can
You
continue.
can,
Yeah.
you can.
So that will works, right?
That's all allowed because yeah, if you see here on this example, as my extension 1 and 2 are dependent on the base one, when I open
Mm.
my AL package, there will be this app file, which is in dependency defined on this,
Yeah.
right? These will never change. If the versions are same, they will never change. Either you do it
Yes.
locally or from internet.
Yes. Right. Right.
At the max, this can change. And if this changes, whosoever is the owner of this app will have to
Mhm.
provide me the new.
Yeah.
Now, I'll surely recommend you to read more about source control because your life will be in so much trouble, not today, but maybe going forward, where you don't know where the source code is, who last modified it, what is the last version that I deployed. Because there are
Mm.
so many things that can cause problem in this environment if you don't use a source control. Now
Okay.
think about it, read about it. There is uh, Freddie's blog, which talks about how you can even build the whole pipeline. So that's not something which is hidden behind the scene for some partners or specific people. There are open blogs from Freddie which talks about how you can use one of the PowerShell command to build your pipeline called run AI pipeline or something. That's part of the Docker or the business container helper that Freddie builds, which
Okay.
is yes, here it is, run AI pipeline, AL pipeline. So
Okay.
the commands are available. There is an article about it, where you can define which country it is. Do you need to code sign? Do you have a certificate for it? It gives you all that and gives you output as an app rather than these all files. It seems it also integrates with GitHub and GitLab, so that's super cool. These are also options that you can use creating private repo on GitHubs. But surely have a
Okay.
look on pipeline, or sorry, on the source control things for sure.
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
So thanks.
Jignesh, you have something?
And so
Yes.
what
Oh,
is
sorry. Go ahead.
So can I talk?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. So now I am listening about like Dynamics 365 for sales actually. So I am thinking that is one of the CRM system of the Microsoft. So now
Right.
how can I get the data from my from Dynamics 365 sales into the business center? So is there any means APIs are available for the sales?
You want to write from sales to business center?
Yeah, suppose my customer is having some leads and they converted those leads as a customers into their CRM, and they want to pull those CRM information into the business center. So how it will work means what is the best way to get those information into the business center?
Okay, so there is a integration setup, I guess, or 365 setup available in Business Central. Yeah, I guess it's integration setup or something. Integration management setup. Yes, so there is this setup, okay, which let you manage your integration between your Business Central and Dataverse, and then Dataverse talks to D365 sales. Now, as far as the APIs are concerned, the last thing that I remember around this is now this integration also supports custom APIs. Okay. So when it supports custom API, that means you can build your own API, which then will be available on this integration that you can utilize from the Business Central side. Now, how it works from the CRM side, I'm not sure. But from the Dynamics Business Central side, you can have your custom APIs as the part of the integration setup. Because before this version, which is 2021 release wave 1, you actually have to code to do the integration. You still have to do something, but not everything, because if you write the custom APIs, they are supported with this integration at this point. And
Okay.
if you go to Aeropa webinar YouTube page, there was someone who was talking about this integration maybe a month ago or so. So search for Aeropa webinars, which was done by Luke Van Degent. I don't remember his exact name, but there are good sessions about it. And if I'm not wrong, somebody also talked about it in last Dynamics Con.
Okay. So this will work means that is the same true from Business Central to Dynamics 365 sales and from Dynamics 365 sales to Business Central, both vice versa, right?
Right. There are some setups around it, but I'm pretty sure that it works that way. I haven't done it personally, but I've seen it. So here it is about Dataverse on Aeropa webinar, and there will be others also where he talked about.
Yeah. So generally, I'm not aware of this Dataverse and Dynamics 365 sales actually. So in one of my client meeting, that discussion happened actually. So if I want to do any code at BC level, so how can I proceed like that? I'm thinking actually.
Yeah, have a look on if you just search for it, because as far as I know, you'll have to use Dataverse to integrate. There's not, I guess there is a wizard for it in Business Center. I don't have a, I
Yeah,
don't have a.
Wizard, I checked, sir. Actually, in the online, I checked actually. They are directly asking about the integration from the Dynamics 365 sales to Business Central. Actually, I tried that, but
Right.
instead of using that, if I want to do code level, so that there I am facing problem actually. So how can
You
I
should
proceed?
not do it from the code level because it's already available, right? That's the whole point. Because if it is not available, then that's something else. But if it is available, it's less code. That's the whole point.
Yeah, using this GUI, we can get the current updated information. Suppose today I got some 50,000 records. Suppose again after one more week, I want to get the latest records. So again, is there any job you need to prepare further to schedule the in the scheduled way to get the data from the CRM
It's
system?
I think you might have to do a little bit more reading. I don't think it's static that you have to do the pull again. It's
Mhm.
it's a it's kind of a actual integration which works in real time, not exactly real time, but you don't have to set it up every time, as far as I know about it.
Okay, you are telling only one time setup is required.
One time setup where you set it up, and
Okay.
then there are the synchronization job which works around it. And I don't have that environment where I can show you that. But I'm pretty sure it's not that you have to fetch it every time manually. There are ways to schedule it, I guess. Have a look on it.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Okay. Jagdish, you have something?
Yes, Saurav, I have two questions. First one is
Mhm.
there is one client that BC18 on premise. They would like to
Mhm.
allow external access of API and OData. Somehow they can access OData URL through the Internet Explorer, but not from Google Chrome. So I don't know how to fix it. Is there any way to do it?
What is the error that they are getting?
HTTP 400. I have tried to access outside environment.
Oh, outside the environment. Okay. What authentication method they are using?
They are, I think I have Windows authentication.
And they are using Windows authentication, and from outside the system or the
Yeah,
servers, are you using the computer with their Windows authentication or your own Windows authentication?
no, there.
I think what you need is a SSL certificate configured even for the Windows login.
Yeah, they have buy the SSL certificate from purchased from third party
Okay, attach it to the service.
that I we need to check.
That's what required. So what happens is to allow external integration or access from outside the domain, you need
Yeah,
to attach the service with that SSL certificate. And even with Windows authentication, it doesn't force you to change authentication to nav username password, but you'll have to change, uh, assign that certificate to the service. And I don't remember the how you do it now, but I'm pretty sure I wrote about it way earlier about uh, SSL certificates. So, okay, it's not coming. There are a set of commands that you need. For BC, I'm pretty sure you can find those info on web. Uh,
okay.
how you attach a SSL certificate to your website of Business Central or the service tier of Business Central. And once you complete those steps, you will be able to access it outside for sure. And I can bet you that for sure.
They have one question also that OData URL through Internet Explorer they can access, but not from Google Chrome. Is there any specific to the browser? I think no.
No, no, there should never be anything specific to browser. They might want to clear the cache of their browser. That's the only thing. Okay. So here is an example, and it may not be relevant because this is pretty old on a pretty old version.
Yeah.
But once you have your, sorry, this is an example of a certified one. Let me find where it is uncertified one. Certificate. unqualified. 2013 and 2013 R2, and I'm pretty sure this worked till BC14. I'm not sure post that, but you have to enable SSL here. Okay, and then you have to have a SSL certificate. In this case, I'm creating it, but as they have already purchased it, they don't have to go this route. Once you have created that, then you have to import it on a specific area on your service tiers, wherever your service computer is. Okay. And assign it a specific permission so that the service account can read this.
Okay.
Once you do that, you get the keys, and then these keys are attached. The thumbprint of that certificate then get attached to your service tier.
Service. Yeah.
See where it is. Okay. And then and only then you will be able to access it outside the customer domain.
Yeah. Okay. Let me check.
Okay. Yeah. So based on this, I'm now able to access this outside the domain. And because it's not a qualified certificate, it gives me a warning. Otherwise, it will allow me directly to access those info. There's a predefined step, and the only reason that they cannot access it within their organization, outside their organization, is the SSL certificate for sure.
Okay.
And what's
Okay. Other question is, there is a table lock error that one of our customer is facing issue. Let's say think about on a sales header, I have added a field, a custom field, and that one other field also I have added on a customer table. So when on a sales header, I'm adding a value on the custom field, the same value I need to update on the customer card.
Why? Why this reverse transaction?
Yeah, I know, I understand the reverse it is, but it is there. Customization is there. So what is the problem that when I'm updating sales order custom field, somehow it is giving me the error that a table lock is there or something. So how to identify the which customization? I know it is not due to that, but it might be there other customized. It is 17 R2. 17 R2.
Yeah, I don't know how you identify the customization which is causing this.
Because when I debug it, it doesn't give me that proper solution. So I also try to with a customer.table lock table, but it don't resolve my issue.
For the older versions, and I'm not sure it's still valid or not, as in it's valid for the older version, but there was something called as NAV app profiler. There was something released from Microsoft called NAV app profiler. It's a set of DLL and a object which allows you to check these kind of errors if I have it. Was something called as NAV app profiler, which worked till 2015. Which worked just till 2015 and then stopped working after that. We'll have to search for it. I'm pretty sure it was there. I guess this is it. I'm not sure that earlier it was on Codeplex. Now they might have moved it here. And running. Yes, so this might be thing that may help you on that.
Okay.
Okay, Jignesh, give it a try with this. This have everything, how you install it, what you change on different versions. Okay, and then inside this, there will be at one place, there will be some objects, CL objects and some of there's one page and one report, I guess.
Okay, which will give me what output?
This will give you what so this will give you which piece of code is taking how much time, and based on that you can identify what is the
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
So this is performance profiler, which was available back then. Okay, so read this. I'll put it in chat, and I'm pretty sure
Okay.
this should be able to help you with it.
Well, we need to do it in the production, right?
You can first try it out on your test environment.
Because
If everything
because on a
works, then
on a test environment, if I am a user, I'm only the user. So it will not give me the table log or something because
you
the
can
customer.
you can even try it on your Kronos. I'm just telling you about the setup. Once the setup is
Yeah,
done,
yeah.
then you can
Setup
surely
we can
repeat
do.
it on that.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, if it starts working on your own machine,
Yeah.
because there are some permissions that you have to give to certain DL and so on.
Yes, yes.
So once you are set up everything, then try it on customer.
Yeah. Okay. Let me check.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks. Thank you.
Thanks. Rishikesh, you had something?
Yes, sir. If you have time, I want to talk
Yeah,
talk
no
about
worries.
two, three things.
2-3 things.
So-
So okay, let me say. Others, if you want to drop, that's okay. That's not a problem. You can say goodbye. I'll try to answer his questions and then leave.
Thank you. Thanks, sir.
Thanks.
Okay. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay. So, Saurav, if you want, you can stop recording, or I don't have any issue.
Okay. I don't mind that. Okay, then go ahead.
Yeah.
If
So my
it's
first
not
question-
something, you know.
My first question, Saurabh,
Yeah.
do we have any session on setting up development environment, how to link GitHub, how to use Docker, all these things? Have you ever done any session on this?
Not exactly. Not exactly, I guess. We
Okay,
talked
so
about it in different, areas, small, but not exactly.
can we have, I mean, if possible,
Sorry,
can we have if possible?
Rishikesh, can you repeat that?
I'm saying, can we have a
I'll
session
try,
on?
man.
Okay, fine. Thanks.
I'll try that. Not a problem.
Okay. And my second question is actually this was a question asked to me in an interview. Hello. Hello, am I audible? Hello. Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. Saurabh, so for example, if I have published one app and there are certain code in it, and I want to not to use two particular lines of code. So what should be the best way to achieve this? I think we lost Saurabh. Or Saurabh, are you there?
Hello. Rishikesh?
Yes.
Sorry, that was bad internet. Can you repeat your question?
My question is, I have published an app and there is some code in it.
Okay.
And I want not to use two lines of code. I want to avoid them, skip those lines. So what is the best way to achieve this? So I simply answered that I will download the source and comment those two lines and again publish the next version. But I don't know whether it is correct or not.
And this is on-prem SaaS.
For any, I mean, this was the question asked to me in an interview. So just wanted to understand whether I answered correctly.
So yeah, you'll comment. Yeah, you will comment it. You will publish a higher version of that app. That's pretty straightforward. There's something.
Yeah. Okay, fine. Thank you, sir. And my last point I want to understand is not related to Business Central. It is basically related to NAV 5.0. So
Okay.
actually, I guess if I speak in Hindi also, you are okay.
That's okay. Yeah, that's okay.
तो एक्चुअली क्या है, अभी हम एक प्रोजेक्ट कर रहे हैं जो कि BC14 हम वहां पे लगा रहे हैं ऑन प्रीम वर्जन. ओके. एंड करेंटली दे आर यूजिंग NAV 5.0. सो उनका कुछ डेटा माइग्रेट करना है हमें सो उन्होंने अपने करंट सिस्टम का बैकअप रिस्टोर कर दिया है वहां पे सर्वर के ऊपर. Now I'm unable to access that old database. So what I did, I created Windows access control and Windows login. उसमें मैंने अपना SID copy करके paste कर दिया. But now it is saying AS was expected. That error it is giving.
What was
If you
what was expected?
S, can I show you? I mean, if you allow.
That's not a problem. Go ahead. Show me.
Yeah. Let me show you.
Let me show you. Stop recording because it's your customer server, right? So just give me a
Yes.
second.
Yeah, please.
Let me stop recording. Okay. Stop recording.